This episode was recorded live at North Mountain United Tapestry. In Harbourville, Nova Scotia, North Mountain United Tapestry is a community space hosting a weekly farmers market through the summer, a number of plant sales and art markets, and it just so happens to be one of my favorite places to see live music. Located right on the Bay of Fundy with a great view and atmosphere, this is truly a gem for anyone visiting or anyone in the nearby community to experience. Visit www.unitedtapestry.com for updates and more information on the amazing community behind this absolutely wonderful space in our world. North Mountain United Tapestry. One and welcome all to the Friendly Heckler Podcast. I'm Zakary Miller, your friendly neighborhood heckler, and I'm so glad you joined me. Thanks to everyone who has subscribed, emailed, followed, smiled, or even frowned. You're all so lovely. We have upcoming dates to announce. June 22nd, that morning, live on stage with KO, Julie Doiron, and Alex Covey at Full Circle Festival. July 17th, my guest is Catherine Kennedy, live in Wolfville at the Al Whittle Theater. Tickets will be up on their website soon. And August 24th, recording an episode with Dylan Jewers of Big Turnip Records at the Woodside Tavern in Dartmouth. Email me for tickets for that one. The email for the show is thefriendlyheckler@gmail.com, and you can find me on all the internet portals. So find me, hello, hi, see you there. This episode, I talked to an incredible human, the dynamic, the dynamite, the delightful Leona Burkey. We talk about Leona's love for music and other local artists, her life as a parent. We touch on her advocacy work for the neuro-divergent. Leona also opens up about the inner workings of her songs and the incredible research she does when she's writing. She even brought a surprise for me to enjoy, which I won't ruin. But we nerd out about an old yodeler, and it was so sweet of her to share a family heirloom with me and the audience. I love Leona's boundless energy and passion for others, their creativity, and their spirits too. So here is... Everybody, please welcome Leona Burkey!
Delightful. Loneliness is a mystery I don't want to solve. Togetherness in our history is all that I want. We're here for some much needed carrying on. Raise glasses to glory in the rising sun. Shine up some stories, I missed you. It's been too long. And just let love fill the room. Like the softest veil, take the edge off the wreck and the ruin. Give me your moments, I'll give you two. Open the door and let love fill the room. I can't sidestep what's coming, the future's not far. Lately she asks what the day is 5 times an hour. She spends half the day on her solitaire play. Somehow she finally wins anyway. The old deck I gave her had only 49 cards. But we let love fill the room. like the softest veil, take the edge off the wreck and the ruin. Give me your moments, I'll give you a tune. Open the door and let love fill the room. I wanna talk to the kings and their men. Crisis looms large. Why are they behaving like they're somehow in charge? Or the meeting this weekend we're all gonna watch. We might be forgiving, stop taking so much from our own mama's generous, knowing beautiful arms. And just let love fill the room, like the softest veil, take the edge off the wreck and the ruin. Like a semaphore turning their eyes to the truth. Open the door and let love fill the room. Oh, open the door, she's here, not a moment too soon. Thanks.
Gorgeous way to open the whole show. Yeah, you're forcing love into the room.
I am.
By opening it. Yeah.
Aggressively.
Where does a song like that come from? Because to me, it's like so beautiful. Hi, Leona.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
You too. Yeah, let's look directly in each other's eyes while we say
I
this.
know.
Yeah.
Hi. You know, that's not. I love. It's a new song, newish, and it was inspired by Jill Barber. You guys know who Jill Barber
gorgeous,
is?
yeah.
Canada's sweetheart, right?
Yeah. Well,
She's
there's many.
amazing.
You're one of them, so be
and
careful.
I am of a certain age that I remember seeing Jill Barber play at a place called the Velvet Olive in Halifax. Oh, yes. And that place was cool as heck in the late 90s. It was where it was at. Jen Barber was coming up. Rose Cousins was coming up. Jen Grant was just starting out. The Company House was still open. There was a Dead of Winter Fest. There was a lot happening.
Yeah.
It was a scene. And I loved her. And then she sounded so cool and jazzy compared to the other girls.
So you heard her and you went home and you were like, I
loved her.
Be jazzier.
I loved her. But over the years, she's changed her sound. She's morphed into different, and she's quite iconic at this point, Juno winner, the whole bit. And she lives out west now. But during pandemia, she put out a record called Homemaker.
Yes.
And it wasn't like Jen Grant, or not, pardon me.
Jill Barber.
Jill Barber for usual consumption. It was like back to some kind of roots. And I was blown away at her frankness in her writing, I guess, about like how her tour and public life was completely interrupted, and it forced her to think about words like homemaker and how to add value.
How do you feel about a word like that,
actually? And I'm like, that is so brave. Like, she spoke to being away and being distant from her family and then being home again and doing mundane things like the dishes and missing her public life
Yeah.
and figuring out the value of those things and the balance. And I'm like, that is really brave. And I'd been having those kinds of conversations kind of for the first time, you know.
When is this for you? Like during the pandemic,
It was, well, I kind of heard her record, and then I was just kind of thinking some things. And then I'm like, it inspired me to write a more kind of honest tune about, like, there's a bit about caregiving in there. There's a bit about trying to explain to my daughter why climate summits have been happening for 28 years.
Okay, yeah.
But they just keep having them every year. And then she was like, well, are they like going to change stuff? Like, how many of these has there been?
The big guys
you know,
are
and
meeting
kind
this
of
year,
taking
yeah.
care of that from a more nurturing place. And then like being kind of honest about missing people, you know, and that idea of like, let's all just get in a room and let love fill the room, you know, we're going to be okay. And then I'm like, well, that can apply to a lot of things. And I'm like, I think I'm going to Jill Barber this. Well, let's talk a little bit about, you know, about missing people, and then about caregiving,
Well, this
like having
whole album
caregiving
that
pressure.
you put out, dude, is really loving.
It's kinda
There's
grown
a lot
up.
of love. Yes, it is. But there is a lot of groove to it, and you
It's
get
lovey-dovey.
jazzy. And
It's lovey-dovey too. There's a lot of love,
yes,
lovey-dovs.
there's a lot of love for new experience and parenting. I noticed too in this album. Interesting.
That's nice.
Actually, why don't I friendly heckle you for a song that I felt like goes there?
Okay.
Ordinary Magic.
Oh, that's fun.
I was going to friendly heckle you for Let the Love Fill the Room, but I kind of knew
know.
you'd open with it, because that is
Yeah.
a good opener.
It's become kind of a bit of an opener. I'm like, I may as well
chef's
do it, right?
kiss.
Just,
Yes.
The love song.
But if I could bother you for this,
Yeah.
the first friendly heckle of the night,
Okay.
Ordinary Magic just has, again, such a cool groove to me.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard Leona's album, we're talking about the album Ground Rush a lot. It came out 2022?
Yeah, and kind of early 2023.
No.
It was slippy, but
So
it
it's a
came-
Sagittarius.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
We don't talk about albums as their star signs that often. We
This
should.
one might be perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's quite new in the world of my pace of putting out records, which
Beautiful.
is every 2 or 3 years. So
That's
yeah,
consistent.
it's a baby. It's not even a year old. Thanks for asking for this song.
It's
Secretly, one of
Well-
the reasons why I love this song is because it has a cormorant in it, which I think is a misaligned seabird. Much maligned.
maligned. Yes,
Yes.
much maligned.
It's not misaligned at all. It knows
its neck
what
is-
it's
seems
doing.
misaligned. It's got a weird shape to it.
But it's quite a mystical bird.
You feel that way? Because a lot of people do loathe these
They
birds.
think it's a trash bird. And that thing can eat 10 times its weight and still fly.
People don't
awkwardly.
like that. People don't like when things eat a lot. That's why we hate bears.
But cormorants are actually, they're okay.
Don't they force other birds out, though, of their habitats? Like, aren't they sort
Not
of like
really.
blue jays in that way?
Nope.
They don't show up and eat all the food so that none of the other birds...
No,
Okay.
they're not so bad.
They
I
coexist.
checked it out.
Okay.
And I
you
feel
do
like
a
the
lot of
cormorant.
research, by the way.
Well, I checked it out because I'm like, if the cormorant really is a jerk bird, like you don't want to give it shine a light. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
On
I
like
hear ya.
jerk bird behavior.
I now call pigeons rock doves because I think they deserve a second chance. So I'm with you. Let's
The mighty cormorant.
to the cormorant. Please play me the ordinary magic that is cormorants.
Ordinary magic. That's a good heckle. Ordinary magic can turn around tragic state of mind. Ordinary magic, come turn, lighten up these heavy times. I'm gonna get it. Yeah. Oh, bow through flat water just like cutting glass. Oh, wake a sleeping cormorant as I pass. Oh, watch him muster up all his strength and might. Oh, wingtips kissing calm like two perfect stones, Gibson. Two perfect lines. Ordinary magic can turn around tragic state of mind. Ordinary magic come lighten up these heavy times. Oh, your first few waking breaths. Oh, feel the ebb and flow for a moment in your head. Oh, your heart was not the part that needed rest. Oh, grace she lies in wait for all that might be next, for all the heart, for all the mess. Oh, oh, ordinary magic can turn around tragic state of mind. Ordinary magic come lighten up these heavy times. Oh, wolf moon rising, pulling gently on your spine. Oh, self-same power is the ruler of the tides. Oh, oh, ordinary magic can turn around tragic state of mind. Ordinary magic come lighten up these heavy times. Is gonna lighten up these heavy times. Come on and lighten up these heavy times. Ordinary magic.
Can I break the magic of a song in a way?
Totally.
To me, I picked up on like looking in the child's eyes, kind of. And did you really feel that when you had kids? Like that? Wow, I finally see what everybody's talking about. I asked that as somebody who will never have kids.
You know,
I'm just curious if you really felt that, because a lot of songwriters too start writing that, like, you've called your music mom folk before, so I love that you're going there.
Yeah, I know, mom folk. The Coast called it mom rock one time.
No way.
And I nearly fell over. Oh yeah, segue. You know, we're losing our arts writers so fast. They're just dropping like flies. And we had a good one at the Coast in Halifax.
Nice.
Morgan Mullins.
Okay.
And one of her last acts as our treasured arts writer for the Coast was talking about the video for Ground Rush, and we got into this big word nerd conversation. She gave me a very, very long interview, too long. I think she knew she was leaving and was like, I'm having a good time, who cares? Okay. So we got word nerdy, and then the headline was, Leona Burkey's new record is about to make mom rock a thing.
Yeah.
And then 2 days later, no more Morgan Mullins.
Oh. Wow.
She gave me a gift before she left. And then I'm like, well, we have dad rock. We can have Mom
it's
Rock.
too soon.
Sure.
You canceled her. You basically
I don't know. It was a really
it's
good
too
article.
soon for Mom Rock.
But it might have been too soon for Mom Rock, right? They're like, she's gone too far.
Yeah.
She's gone too far.
Leona Burkey is way too radical for this establishment.
Yeah, Mom Rock. Anyway. But I'm like, I kind of love it.
I think it's interesting, actually, because when you Google your name, you come up in many different formats, which is also a reason I wanted to talk to you tonight, because the news comes to you quite a bit as like a pundit, sort of.
Sometimes. It's because I'm a tub thumper.
What do you mean? I get the Chumbawamba reference, but please, what do you mean?
I'm going to go back because I didn't answer your question. And then I won't forget, though, tub thumper, I got you.
Okay.
But you were like, writing through a child's eyes and all of that. Having a child completely incinerates you, and then you come back a different person a little bit, I find.
Nice.
But it didn't drive a lot of songs. It just makes certain moments really poignant and impactful to you, really memorable. You make a lot of core memories, and you I like songs that package up a core memory, sometimes in disguise, but later I will know. And I just...
Your mementos.
Yeah, they're mementos of an experience, but they're sometimes disguised as other things with other characters or viewpoints, but I know what they are,
Yeah.
so they're thumbtacks,
So does a song like that have numerous mementos for you within it? Or
Yep.
is it you
Yeah, it would
writing off
have
of one?
like 3 kind of big ones.
Per
Yeah, or
verse.
each verse, the one idea per verse, which
Cool.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I just said perverse.
I just thought of that too. It's so funny that we're sitting here being like one per verse. One per verse or 2 per verse?
1 per verse.
Yes, always better than 2 per verse.
Definitely.
Ugh. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
But
Okay, but let's get
not
back to
like I
tub
don't
thumping.
go like, oh, I have children, I'm going to write songs every day about them. The
Yeah.
best thing about having children is I have a big inner child. And I get to experience everything again with them because they have a high-class childhood with unspeakable, astonishing adventures that
Did
they
you?
can act. My childhood was astonishing, but I lived in a 500-person village. I lived in Harbourville without the view, like tiny, nothing.
Where are you talking about?
It's a
If you don't mind
place
me
called
asking.
Lordways, and it's near St. Peter's, Cape Breton, where the southern tip of the Bredor Lakes canals into the
Beautiful.
ocean. So we're about a 7-minute drive down the road from St. Peter's, and it's a fishing village, and it's just salty and open, old, extremely old, like 1605 or something.
Amazing.
The Acadians landed there. Lord Ardoise is the French word for slate, and the beaches are packed with natural slate formation.
Gorgeous.
And they used the slate to build Louisbourg, to put the roof on.
Holy.
True story.
That's where they took it from?
So where they took it from, like, vas-y à l'ardoise, like go get the slate.
Did they have
Guys
to move
with
it by
the
water
boats.
then?
Yeah.
Oh,
So they would come in
wow.
by ship, and all the water hazards were named, French names.
Yeah.
And they're all 400+ years old.
That's
the Pointe de Brissette and this reef and that, and they all have these weird old Acadian names because the ships would get bashed up coming in to get their slate.
This is obviously this is important history to you.
I love it.
The slate is within you?
The slate is within me. I love slate. I still take it sometimes from the beaches if I find it.
Oh, that's theft, isn't it?
No.
Yes, in Nova Scotia, any natural resource,
You can't take
including
rocks.
slate, is owned by the province. Even if you own the land, it's
bad.
now the property of the province.
never
Anyway,
did
that's
that.
not what this podcast is about. Zoning and restrictions, bylaws, I can say that stuff.
Slate.
Slate.
Tub thumping.
My favorite color.
That's where we get back to.
I would love to get into the tub thumping. Why are you a tub thumper?
I am I'm a charitable sector worker, nonprofit worker. And I've had a few trips down those roads, and they just always happen to be with a particular population that needs maybe a little bulldog in the fight.
Nice.
And I get caught up in it. And when you blab your mouth off,
people listen.
sometimes someone will listen.
Oh, well,
and then
you
if
gotta
they
hurt a
listen
slate.
to you
That's
once, you know what I mean? Sometimes if you have something about something else, then they'll listen to you again.
I love how broad you're speaking about it. You make it also sound like they come to you for movie reviews.
No.
But it's no. You particularly
Yeah.
talk and advocate for brain injuries
Yep.
and neurodiversity in general, right?
Yep.
They kind of come to you for.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, let's get into it. And I don't mind
Please,
getting
okay.
into it. It's all fine. It's on the public record.
Okay, because it's beautiful that you're so humble. You're fiery, but you're so humble because you're talking about working in the charitable sector. You won a Governor General's Award.
I did. For caring.
That's incredible.
It
Yes,
says on
really
the thing, caring Canadian.
Leona
The
Burkey.
GG was Adrienne Clarkson.
Oh,
I got
that's
to
one of the
hang
best-
with her.
That's got to be the best GG in history.
She was the best GG.
Other than Gigi Allen. Yeah, that's amazing.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you the Coles notes. So when I was young, I played music since I was a baby because I didn't want to Highland dance.
Did you do any Highland dancing?
No. I was
Okay.
very jealous of the prima donna. I'll message her and be like, Jennifer, I name dropped you.
Prima donna?
She was the prima donna of Highland dancers, and she could just fly around, and she was so graceful. And this Highland dancing was like ballet, because that's all we had.
Yes.
Or you could step dance. We had step dance teachers, and I'm like, no. And then you could learn to play the fiddle. That was really big. But I was kind of like, meh. And then I took guitar lessons from a guy who just had a rock band. So he taught me how to play CCR songs. That's how I learned. And then I'm like,
great.
forget Highland dancing. I am cool.
Yeah, I rock too
And
hard.
small communities had a way of, there's always a concert or there's some way to get in front of people at a really young age. So I was totally hooked. But then, I'm like, well, I should probably find a job other than music at some point. So I was always kind of drawn to, I was one of those, like a do-gooder.
Yeah.
Trying to help.
Still
And
do.
then my journey into nonprofit work was just going to St. Mary's because I had no idea what I wanted to do.
Is that the hospital?
No, the uni
Oh,
in
okay.
Halifax. I went to St. Mary's for uni, met a blind guy there who loved to play music. It's such a trope. I'm like, sorry, Mike, but yep, totally blind, played piano, loved music intensely. And I was in the dorms, and so was he, and we used to jam. And I'm kind of like, you're totally blind. You're like the white Stevie Wonder. This is awesome, right? Let's rock out. And then he needed a note taker, because back then there was no tech. So he used to take notes for him.
Amazing.
And then we became really good friends. And then I was I'm like, this blind thing, it's fascinating. And then I fell into a summer job with the Institute for the Blind in my home village, some weird grant job. And I had to check on folks and see how they were doing and learn all about magnifiers and low vision and lighting and cool shit.
And you ate it up, sort of?
I
like the
kind of
information
did.
was
And
really
I'm like,
interesting to
hey,
you?
I got my own office in the corner of the fire hall in St. Peter's. It was wicked. No one checked on me, so I took really long lunches. And then I would go and
government
visit
money.
these people, and they were so excited that somebody who knew anything about life with bad or no vision was coming to hang out.
Okay.
So I did that for 2 summers, and then once I graduated and I spent some time in Edmonton, punched the Cape Breton passport, went out there for a decade. 5 years would have done it for me.
Decade?
I was there a decade.
Wow.
But I was home every spring
good
to
for you.
lobster fish, so that's a whole other thing. So I would get a break every year from the dry, boring West.
Wow,
It's so
what a
crazy.
wild life to live.
So then
every spring.
I walked into a really nice, like mid-level nonprofit job with the CNIB in right downtown Edmonton, and they were like, "You have get in here," and I'm like, "Oh my God!" All my buddies are like slinging beer back home, or working 2-3 jobs, and I'm like, they want me to do what? And they gave me a van. This is true. And they let me drive all over northern Alberta, way up there, and into the NWT, doing pretty much the same job, just checking on the folks.
Great.
How's it all going? Having some community education. Did some work with lots of Indige folks way up in the north. Because they're all diabetic.
It's great to hear that money actually went to somebody doing those kind of checks and taking that kind of drive. It's wild that you had to be centered out of
And they even let me take my dog. I had an Irish setter named Petey. It was amazing. It was the best job. And I did music on the side. That was my first act. I played, when you're young, you've got lots of gas in the tank, and it was all day, all night, and I would pick tour spots according to work travel, and it all mushed together. And then every May, I'd be like, yo, Marilyn, my sweet boss, she would give me a leave of absence for 2 months without pay, and I'd come home and lobster fish and then just go back to work.
Oh, wow, you are a good Cape Bretoner. Wow.
Yep.
Were you already writing songs like in university?
Yep.
So you already had like a full act together by the time you were
I started writing early teens, and they were all terrible. And then I started writing tunes in earnest mostly when I was out west. And the first batch were homesick tunes.
Oh,
And-
are there any that you still play from really early days?
Yeah. There's one, and I might play it maybe, I don't know.
If you're saving it for later, you can do
No,
that too.
I have no plan.
Okay, me either, yeah.
And I thought I had a plan, and then I made the turn and saw the harbor, and then my Acadian heart burst open, and I'm like, there goes the plan. Like, I have no plan. And, but yeah, I started writing. There was some homesick tunes, some observational tunes.
Okay.
And
Your Jerry Seinfeld
it started coming along, and it was a cool time because I was a stranger coming from the smallest of cities and smallest of towns where everyone knows you.
You didn't like reinvent yourself as a big
Nope.
city slicker?
Oh, God, no.
Cowboy hat
No.
in Alberta?
Do I'll tell you what I did, is me and a fella from PEI, his nickname was Relic. He was part Newfoundlander, part PEI, ran into him at a maritime pub. I was only there maybe a year, and he's like, hey, you play? I'm like, yeah, I play. He's like, I've got a hustle for you. And I'm like, what? And he and I ran a hustle for about 6 years. And it was during the Irish pub wave when Great Big Sea was everything.
Awesome
and
timing.
all the Easterners in Alberta, all they wanted was to hear songs from home. And we made a killing. We had an agent.
You talking about it like it was a con. We conned the hell out of those
No,
Albertans.
it was insane. We had an agent, and his name was Randy Guider. I don't even know where he is now. And he used to book me in these insane places because he's like, he would pitch me. He's like, nope, she's a Cape Breton girl. She's the real deal. And I had this little ball cap with the Cape Breton tartan and Cape Breton on the front, and I would just wear it. And
I'm also, for some reason, picturing it with like one of those little spinners at the top. Like a
it was
helicopter
nuts.
hat.
I played a guitar a lot like this one, and I
Cool.
just gave her with like maritime music, whatever I could think of at the top of my lungs. And this guy used to book us, like, he booked me 1 year. He booked me 1 year in downtown Calgary for St. Patrick's Day, peak Calgary.
That's pressure.
It was like 2 city blocks or something insane. And I show up for sound check, and the sound guy's like, "It's just you?" I'm like, "Yeah." And we were watching school buses of 20-year-olds empty out.
Drunk already.
Into this giant street party. And I'm like, wow, I better rip out some Everclear.
Oh,
right
wow.
now.
Weird.
Just kidding. It was a weird time. In music, too. It was really
Everclear
weird.
And some Cape Breton classics.
And I was
Interesting
opening
mix,
for Ashley McIsaac. Because they assumed we knew each other well.
Yeah. Small island.
And I got paid $4,000 to
Oil
sing
money.
What Shall We Do with a Drunken Sailor.
For like
At a very
4 hours?
fast, violent speed, because everybody was doing that then. Anyway, I may be the only person who started a mosh pit with that song on St. Patrick's Day. And I got paid so much dough. And I took a picture of the check and I sent it to my dad. And he's like, "Oh my gosh."
Made it.
And that went on for years. And then the trend kind of faded away. And we were like, oh, thank God we're exhausted. Like we were running it.
I say give it 3 more years, and then we're back to that.
Two
Remember
of
when
us-
Mumford and Sons picked up? I was like, oh, it's
Yay.
kind of happening again.
But then it didn't quite happen. But now it's going to happen.
Yeah, there's some sounds that are
It's
really
25
making it,
years is the cycle.
Let's stop talking about other people's music and play yours.
Okay.
We're giving other people too much airtime. This is about you.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, a lot of fun. So,
Because we could, again, talk about other people all night, but I just love your voice, dude. You have such a unique way of singing. I definitely want to
Thanks.
find out where that even comes from. Because it's not
Yeah.
it's not Cape Breton-y. It's not that maritime-y at all, even though you grew up singing like that.
it's not.
You sing like a New Yorker or something like
Oh, that's kind of cool.
a New York folky.
I think it's because I have fresh strings and they are so great, but they're still a little mushy. I think it's because I've been singing for maybe a really long time. And over the years, because there's only so much you can do with a guitar, you think more about your voice as an instrument and you
Yes.
play with it. And I play with it like it's just fun.
Well, you're in a drop D tuning right now?
I'm in drop D.
What are you going to jump into? I'm curious.
Well,
what
I
you
was
wanna
thinking
share.
because you're gonna make me talk about the caring, and that's cool because once you get into nonprofit, which I did heavy with my van, driving around, it's a very hard sector to leave because you just get sucked in, and it's really hard to leave, and that just opened the door to the real big hard stuff to come later. Life is crazy. But I'm going to play you, this is my Western song. Oh, the Out West tune,
Yeah.
There's a few of them, right? But imagine a salty-haired little sprite, that ran around on rocky beaches her whole life. And then you drive across the massive expanse that is the prairies for the first time, and the wind's blowing the grass and you're freaking out, and all these tragically hip songs are playing in your head as you're driving. But this tune, the first time I saw the Badlands, I was speechless.
Yeah.
Like you're just driving and it all falls out. You're like, I am so small. So this is called Long Ride, and it's everybody has a road song. This one's mine. I did a lot of driving. Blew a few head gaskets on those Alberta roads. There's a quickening on my long ride as I land drops away under the biggest of skies. I'm in a valley cut and carved over 1,000 lifetimes, and I'm calm by the realization that if I drive as fast as I can, I'd still be locked in by all this land. In the middle of these painted curtains all around me, I am but a sleight of hand. Pull over to the shoulder and say quietly, I miss the one who'd understand. Oh, until the return in reality, if I drive as fast as I can, it wouldn't help me find you again. Oh no, I was merciless to you. But I was young, that can serve as my excuse. But I can feel you there, see you sitting there beside me. Windows roll down with your cigarette hanging carelessly. 5,000 miles away, yeah, I'm so far gone. What if with me is right where you you always thought I was a little crazy in my head, but I have played through my loneliness. Sometimes I just pretend. Oh, you never see how long a wheat train can be, and how being a stranger can set you free. Ooh. Thanks. Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
A little train reference in there for you.
For me?
Yeah, wheat train.
How did you know I collect trains?
Well, listen.
I have 4 diesel
You're a
locomotives in my
Jimmy
backyard.
Rogers fan.
Yes, that's true.
So
How'd you
that
know that?
means, well, you're not good.
I talk too much about him. That's my problem, I guess.
You're a Jimmy Rogers fan. Mm-hmm. And there aren't a lot of Jimmy Rogers fans in our peer group.
No, yeah, that's true. A lot of my peers have already died off.
So, yeah. Speaking of Jimmy Rogers,
What do you
want a story surprise? Like right now?
Yeah, okay. You've been hinting at this like
I know.
surprise for me for a while now. I'm so curious.
You're a
but I
Jimmy
hate to
Rogers
show
fan.
my excitement.
I know. You're a big Jimmy Rogers fan. How did that come about? let me ask you.
Oh, wow. The tables have turned.
How do you know the Jimmie Rogers?
I, like a lot of people, watched Oh Brother, Where Art Thou and found a lot of that music and was like, oh, wow. There's old music? And then I found a CD when I was living in England called Music Inspired by Oh Brother, Where Art Thou. Somebody just stole the label.
Like a fan.
Yes.
A fan project.
It was a really weird little like CD at some off-brand CD store in England. Anyway, it had Jimmie Rogers on it, and I remember going home, putting the CD on, and just shaking, like sitting there, getting all the goosebumps and really freaking out. That's that one person with a guitar and yodeling could do that. So since I was 18, I've just been like freaked out by Jimmie Rogers.
Cool.
Why? What is your
Well,
Jimmie Rogers
I love
story?
Jimmie Rogers.
Why do you love him?
And when I was little, this sounds like you cannot make this shit up. But we had the French channel, the CBC, and sometimes CTV. Sometimes, not always.
The weather's good, yeah.
And I don't remember, we were a very hard-working family, and I don't remember a lot of toys. I remember a lot of labor, but not in a bad way. I just remember holding fence posts and like digging holes and splitting fish and all kinds of things. But I remember I had a little record player, a little Fisher-Price kind of record player.
Cool.
And my folks were busy, but they had it was as high as that stool.
Okay, that's like
a stack of 45s in old Ziploc bags. And they were like, you can have at those.
On your Fisher-Price, go ahead and scratch them up.
I don't know how old I was, maybe 5.
Whoa.
Honeycomb blew my mind. Like, I forget what the B-side was. I think it was Mule Skinner Blues, like an old 45. And honeycomb, and then the key changes, and every time the key would change, I'd be like, yes! And I was so little, like, I just remember being...
Were you singing along to all this stuff as a kid?
Oh, yeah, I loved it all. Yeah, and
Were
I
you
started...
yodeling?
No, but I loved the sound of it, you know?
Yes, it's haunting.
It's the best. And then I heard the Fenderman's version of Mule Skinner Blues. Have you ever heard?
Fendermans.
You need to check this out.
Okay.
It's called the Fendermen. And instead of it being, like, hey, Mule Skinner, and it's kind of chuggy, and you got the yodeling, these guys bring it right over the top, and they're like, hey, little water boy, don't sing that water boy, man. Like, it's really intense.
Have you ever heard the Stomp and Tom version?
No. Have you ever heard the Dolly Parton version?
Oh, yeah. I think
It's a bit
so.
insane. It's insane. Hey, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I'm curious who the first voices that you really started to impersonate were. Like, what was a singer that you were like, I have to sound like that?
Susan Jacks from Terry Jacks and the Poppy Family.
Whoa.
So, you know Terry Jacks?
Yes, I know the Poppy
Family. We had joy,
Family.
we had fun,
Yeah.
we had seasons in the sun. I can play them all. But the female singer was Terry Jacks' wife at the time. And, which way you going, Billy?
Yeah.
Can I go to that smooth? She had a smooth voice, almost like Eva Cassidy.
Yes.
Like where it's just so smooth. She was a wonderful singer, and I loved her voice. So I used to sing her songs a lot, and the Mamas and the Papas.
Okay.
Big time.
This is explaining to me like your voice's origin story because you have that vibrato.
I was really little. Yeah.
Interesting. And Mama Cass. Ooh.
So many.
I'm surprised you don't let up more like, yeah, mama, kind of stuff.
Sometimes
you don't do it
Sometimes.
live when you really let loose.
Sometimes, and then, all those. And I didn't love Joan Baez, but I loved her songs. Like I loved all the songs that she was covering, So
the work
I really,
songs and stuff must have been pretty inspiring to you.
it was big. And
you never went through like a union song movement. You were never like.
No, we loved all those, But most people just move on to Bob. really quick, though.
Bob,
when that
first name
happens.
basis, eh? Look at you.
Right, and then you have your Dylan dive or whatever, right?
You dip into Bob, and then you have a Dylan dive. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
happens to us all. But it was all those 45s. Like, I played the song the other day. It was a dream. We did a sci-fi folk show
With
for
Mushcat?
May the 4th. But I just wanted to sing this song. In the year 2525, ain't gonna need you, no husband nor wife. You pick your son and your daughter too, from the bottom of a long glass tube. Whoa, that's a real song.
It's so weird.
And also key changes and all these minor lifts. And I
Cool.
used to flip out in my little bedroom over this song, playing it over and over again. So I was hooked really young.
You were into freaky songs.
I was. I loved it all. All the early Beatles, anything that would have been on a 45, right? Weird Jim Croce, like B-sides.
Yeah.
I must look through that stack because the origin story is there. It's in there.
Okay, this is actually an amazing segue to me.
Huh.
Another part of your origin story, like you mentioned, is your Acadian history.
Yep.
And I wondered if French music was a part of that collection at all, if any of those 45s were Acadian at all, if there was any of that music in your house, or have you been seeking it out?
Ah, interesting. It wasn't in the stacks except for an old song, Lucille Starr. She was so famous in the early 50s.
And she identified
had
as Acadian?
She was from New Brunswick, on the border of New Brunswick and Quebec. And I remember everybody singing this song, and it was bilingual. So it was, Quand le soleil dit bonjour aux montagnes. And then the second verse was, when the sun says good day. And it was a very popular song in Canada and in the States, too. That was on the 45s. But all the French stuff I learned from my grandmother, Henriette.
Beautiful
From
name.
Shetty Camp. That's my mom's people.
Whoa.
So my mom's folks are Shetty Camp Acadian.
Nice.
My dad's side are old Acadian slate gatherers and fishers or whatever. So his last name is Berthier. It was anglicized to Burkey, so that's why I have a name that rhymes with turkey.
I never thought of that. Actually, I thought it was cool that we were going to do a show in Berwick, and you were a Leona Burkey.
Oh, I
'Cause
like
they actually
that.
say
I
Burke.
like it.
It's Burke
Yeah.
locally. So
Burkey.
Leona Burkey is really local. You have no idea.
Yeah.
But Berthier.
Anglicized. Yeah,
So that's the
Berthier,
name.
Berthier.
You put up that French EP, that mini EP.
I did.
And what is it called?
It's called L'Allée des Berthiers. This is, it's like I'm making stuff up, but it's true. Like, of course, we live down a dirt road that's called Berkey's Lane, and everyone that lives on the road is a Burkey.
Awesome.
And so I thought I would call this little French EP, I made it out west, and it was the World Acadian Congress or something. It's basically an excuse for everyone to have a family reunion.
Awesome.
And the Berthiers were having a big reunion, and I'm like, this is amazing. We need a memento. So I recorded all my grandma's old ancient tunes that
Those
she
were
made
your
me
grandmother's
learn.
songs?
She taught me every single one of them.
No
Yeah.
way.
She was a music lady. She was the world's biggest Charlie Pride fan. My grandpa used to be jealous of her, of Charlie himself. He'd call him the maudit Charlie Pride, the maudit. Right? He hated him because my grandmother loved him.
Jealous. That's beautiful.
And she had scribblers, those old Hilroy scribblers, and she would write all of the lyrics to all of the songs she loved obsessively.
Beautiful.
And she would sit in her kitchen with her ghetto blaster, like cassette tapes, and she'd make mixtapes, and she would smoke her little menthol lights and have a break and listen to her music, and she would transcribe the lyrics.
And she wrote a lot of her own stuff then?
No,
too?
it was all pass downs.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it was all like songs, tunes that were passed down through the family.
Can I bother you for one of those?
No, you can bother me. It's fine. And her side was when the Acadians, when it all went to shit or whatever.
When they got kicked out of Nova Scotia by
like
the
during the
colonials?
expulsion, a lot of Cape Breton Acadians lit out for the Magdalen Islands because as fishermen, you knew they were there and you could get there in like a couple hours. Not a couple hours, in a few hours on a good day.
Yeah, wow.
So a lot of them made the crossing to the Magdalens to hide.
Wild.
Because it was treed back
Yes.
then and in the middle of nowhere.
Here we have Ilhote, and I know that some people actually hit out on that tiny, tiny island as well.
Oh, yeah, right? But the Cape Breton Acadians didn't know, right? They're like, are they coming for us all? Goddamn Louisburg.
Are they willing to come to Cape Breton?
Yeah, so let's get
Yeah.
north and remote and let's get out of here or whatever,
Okay.
So a lot of these tunes are from the Magdalens, the Madalinos, which are a whole other subspecies.
Okay, the first song on that little EP really hit me.
Is it the Ciel?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a tough ask for me?
No, not at all. No, I just
Okay.
have to remember it. But when I went, French was my first language because the whole family was Acadian. And then I went to a tiny kindergarten, and I did not know how to speak English.
Oh,
and
it was
I'm
like
like,
an English
thanks,
Anglo
Mom.
kindergarten?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's weird.
It was a little weird. And I'm like, why didn't anyone explain this? But I picked it up quickly, and that was it.
Yeah,
but I can still
I'd say
switch.
you have a pretty good handle on it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I have a good handle on the English.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
So my grandpa, Willie Joseph,
This is who was jealous of Charlie Pride?
jealous of Charlie Pride, but also a big crier, and he was a giant man. He was like 6'3" and had hands this big, and he was very dark-skinned, oddly dark-skinned. Like he would tan, super brown, and we're like, what's up with that? And then come to find out, his family name is Roach, and that's not a French name. And the original ancestor was one of the potato famine kids that was orphaned on the History commercial. They let us keep our Irish name.
The reference.
There was a kid, his name was Syriac Roach, and a couple, their last name was Aucoin. It's a really popular
these are
French
very
name.
popular names out here, right?
They adopted him right off the boat, let him keep his name, and every roach that ever came out of Shetty Camp is descended from him. And we're all called the Roach as Syriac.
Whoa.
A lot of folk artists, musicians, like a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Fishers.
Jason Roach, the
Jason
incredible
Roach,
piano player.
descended from the original.
Wow.
Yep. Crazy, huh?
I know, that's kind of like how everyone with blue eyes, all it's linked to one
Yeah.
descendant.
And even Jason, you look at Jason's coloring. It's not typically Irish, you know?
Yeah.
It's a bit dark.
I thought he was like
because
Maltese.
Syriac Roach was part of this strange genetic group in Ireland called the Black Irish. And
Oh,
they
yeah,
don't know if they
yeah.
come, if it was like Romanians, you know, in ancient times,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe Northern Spaniards, but there's like this swath of Irish folk that are very dark or olive skinned and have dark black hair. And
Yeah.
it's like this thing, you know, no freckles.
I mean, the Celts have thousands of years
Right?
of weird genetics
Of
before
weird
history
things,
even
and
starts,
there's this
right?
like
Yeah.
stripe,
Yeah.
right? And Jason Roach, he's pretty handsome too.
Oh,
you know what I
my
mean?
goodness.
Some good genes.
And a
Let me
dangerous
tell ya.
piano player. What is it with
Very
you, Kate Wetton?
dangerous. He's a pounder. So this tune was the great Willie Roach's. It was his favorite song in the world, and it would slay him. He would bawl like a baby. And it's a song about a woman who loses her love young, and she sees him everywhere. And it's basically begging the sky or the higher up begging for his ghost to leave her alone.
Oh my God.
You asked for it, man. Sure is. But it is a beautiful air. Traditional Acadian songs are very sad, Zakary. They're all about dying at sea, your mother dying, the Virgin Mary, and how she connects all those things.
And how she died.
Nuns in convents, there's a lot of those. And, yes, death at sea. I mentioned that one, but there's a lot of them. And, of course, the expulsion. But a lot of these tunes predate the expulsion, right? This one, unknown origin, early 1600s. Somewhere. Crazy, huh? It's called Beau Ciel, which means beautiful sky. Il est venu celui que j'aime, celui que mon cœur aime tant. Il est venu me dire qu'il m'aime, je tremble, oh, laissez-moi pleurer. Beau ciel, moi qui t'implore, laissez-moi vivre pour son amour. Ce n'est qu'un nuage qui passe. Petit oiseau, chantez, chantez. Il est venu qui passe. Petit oiseau, chantez toujours. Ayez pitié, mon Dieu, je l'aime. Ayez pitié, mon tendre amour. Volez là-bas, comptez mes peines au bord du ciel, montant vers Dieu. Beau ciel, moi qui t'implore, laissez-moi vivre pour son amour. Ce n'est qu'un nuage qui passe. Petit oiseau, chantez, chantez. Ce n'est qu'un nuage qui passe. Petit oiseau, chantez toujours. So sad. I'm so sad.
Because I don't speak French, I guess the only words I understood were little bird and beautiful sky.
So sad. It's just like little bird, fly over there and take my pain and anguish with you.
God.
It's not him. It's just a cloud passing by.
Wow.
The birds keep singing, you know.
I love that you kept that song alive too.
Me too. Yeah, it was my grandpa's song. He loved it.
Your grandma made you learn that song too?
Oh, it was awful. Yeah. Yeah. I would sit in this kitchen in Shetty Camp.
Oh.
And I remember the linoleum floor. I remember the pattern, and I remember just sitting there, and no one thought it strange because I was like the only one who was playing guitar. I remember being 9, and all these aunts would like sit around and they would correct my pronunciation. They'd be like, no, it's like une mère, and they would all sing with me, and I would sing with them and do these little performances, and it was delightful.
You had a huge team behind you from a young age.
Yeah.
Nashville artists would be lucky to have
they were
these
so
aunts.
great. So all these old French songs are ingrained because when you learn them that young, I'm like, oh yeah, I still remember that one.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
French songs are important to you. Fishing songs, I guess.
Oh, of course,
You've got your George Strait set ready, or
oh yeah, whatever we need, you know. And it's a lot of fun. I like talking about, like, people are like, oh, when did you start songwriting? And I'm like, well, listen, there's 2 acts. Like, there's Act 1, and this is Act 2, and this is more serious songwriting. You get to play, songwriter shows, and that's brilliant.
Yeah.
But Act 1 was more like, wow, like playing a huge bar in Fort McMurray
Right.
alone and telling the boys the ground rules at the beginning of the night.
Wow.
One of those mic stands with the heavy disc bottom, and I would pick it up, and I was 23.
You're keeping Stan Rogers' tradition alive.
Yep, I'd hold up the stand and be like, boys, I'll play you all the songs from home that you love.
Wow.
You come near my stage, you get the bottom of this mic stand in the face.
Is that why you still play with cowboy boots? Because I feel like every
Sometimes.
time I've seen you, you're
Yep.
also in boots.
But they would understand that there were ground rules, and we would all have a good time.
Yeah.
And if they got too rowdy, I would play Saltwater Joyce, and then they would all calm down, and then we would carry on. And I got paid very well to do this, but I was in some situations where the vibe felt a little violent. And I'm a bit like, my agent's a dummy. Why would he send me to Grand Prairie?
Did you play chicken wire bars?
I've played some chicken wire bars.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. You're my second guest.
Cape
who's played
Breton night.
Roadhouses.
Cape Breton night, and
what?
there was a
You put
time.
the chicken wire up just for Cape Breton?
No, the chicken wire was already there.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, what would be on the bill, like Cape Breton night.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, hey.
You don't still do Cape
Hey,
Breton
guys.
nights?
Oddly, I do. It's come full circle.
How?
I play every Monday night at the Split Crow Pub in
And
Halifax.
you call those
Well, they're
Maritime Mondays,
Maritime Monday.
right? Nice.
And my job is to play old and mostly recognizable maritime music from days of old that people love.
Specifically Days of Old. You probably
Mostly.
bring in a few new
I bring in
songs
new
too,
ones
eh?
too, though, because
You
it's
sneak your
important,
songs in?
right? And I sneak some of my songs
Good.
in.
I mean,
Sometimes.
They're maritime classics, in my
Sure.
opinion. Yeah.
Yep, sometimes. But I'll play like Stan Rogers, and then I'll play some classic Ron Hines, and then I'll remind people that there's other great songwriters from Newfoundland, so I'll snip in maybe a little Tim Baker, or a little Amelia.
Nice, Amelia.
And I visit all the provinces every Monday.
Do you do it as a tour?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I'm such a nerd.
All right,
Yeah, I
if you
tour guide
take a
them.
look at the left window.
Hi, everyone. It's your lucky night. It's Maritime Monday at the Split Crow.
That's you
Yeah.
host so much. Maritime
It's
Monday.
fun.
You host Women Folk, which is a
Yeah.
series highlighting female artists in
That's
the
fun.
province, right?
It just turned into a radio show. That's why I was asking you about podcasting. I
amazing.
don't, but I'm not podcasting.
Why
just
would you
radio.
podcast? You have a radio
It's
show.
just radio.
On
Once a week.
CIOE, right?
Yep, once a week. And we're gonna, now that I had to see if I liked it,
And do you?
because it's a lot.
Yes.
And
like
it
this
happened-
whole thing, this
Yeah.
sitting behind a microphone thing?
No, actually the women folk thing, because it started, I hung around with guys a lot in my first act, and then
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I really feel like I'm missing half the story, you know?
Yeah.
And I started connecting more with women music makers, and I was really fascinated by all of that. And then I found that sometimes we don't work together as well as we should, sometimes, and that might just be an evolutionary thing.
I'm sure that goes for both sexes.
Yeah.
All sexes.
Always.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, we should just go to Sydney and have a giant high-kicking Mother's Day show, just to
Cool.
see if we can all get along and not be boring. And it worked.
Turned into this
It was
crazy
so fun.
series.
Yep. So we
you
did
do
3. I'm going to do some more this summer.
Okay.
It's just really fun, and we get some sponsorship or a little bit of seed dough, or I find it somewhere, so
Really
that everyone,
cool model, dude.
so everyone gets paid, which is really nice.
You're, like,
we brought Carmen
revolutionizing.
Townsend from Cape Breton, who's a rock and roll superstar, and she
Yeah.
just lives in Christmas Island, like hanging out, trying to not sunburn, and she's a redhead, like that's her obsession. But she used to tour incessantly with one of the greatest bands. I'm like, oh, Carmen. And a lot of times she plays like kind of tribute shows and stuff where she'll just play a couple of tunes, and that's not enough Carmen Townsend.
You
not
wanted a full set?
So we brought her to Waverly Green, and she blew everyone away, and it was like this women folk show. And I'm like, play whatever you want. We love you. I'm going to pay you.
You're such a humble host.
It's great.
I'd like to give you a lot of credit for doing so much for the community, because as somebody who likes to think that he brings people up for shows and stuff like that to a different community, you're doing a lot for your community.
It's quite similar. And I think you do it for the same reasons, because music brings people together.
It's so weird, too. It's like the weirdest people that are really fun to hang out with in a way.
It's really good.
Making opportunities to hang out, but also create music and share it with audiences. Kudos, though, because I really dig the way you're doing it by getting that private sponsorship and making it work that way. Like, cool.
And it's mostly because I get annoyed because in Act 1 I made 5 times what I make now. But I put the same amount of time in, but now I'm better. Like I kind of sucked in my 20s or whatever, compared to now.
Yeah.
And then, but I watch the young ones and the middle, and I just worry about them.
Yeah.
Like boys and girls, all the folks.
It's a weird
because
industry.
music is a hard thing to, if you want any kind of legacy to your art, and you want to be mindful of what you're making, there's just no financial model to support that. So you either have a benefactor, or, and I find with women, now we're talking about it more and it's really fresh, but like so many amazing artists put out a couple of records and then they stop and it's 34 years old. Well, what do you think's going on? Well, they've had children.
Right.
And there's no way, to keep it going. And I'm like, why don't we, I don't know, I think we do a bit of a better job. And I find that stuff really divisive, like talking. I find people get really divisive, and talking about disparity and numbers and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like you that way. I just really like to celebrate. Like, let's just shine a light on some cool things, and we all come together, and attention to detail, and you make sure people have a nice time. And the experience is memorable for everyone.
And to me, it's also about offering platforms for platforms.
Yeah.
Like new access to broad ideas like that. Like for you, having you on the show to me is talking about neurodiversity and talking about women folk and talking about women in the music industry and talking about weird songs and Kate Bretners. Fucking Acadians, like
it's awesome.
You have a lot of different angles to you too, so
and
I respect that you offer platforms to other people for their platforms.
It's kind of cool. I like that part of it, but it definitely it ties into the nonprofit thing, like this neuro-diverse stuff. None of that stuff's by accident. I find that we just kind of had a funny road, Like I got into nonprofit work. My sister, I have one sibling. And her life was completely upended by a non-traumatic brain injury situation that was a viral situation. Sometimes you hear about meningitis or encephalitis and, it went to their brain or whatever. It was one of these mysterious things, and she was 16, and it's like way too long of a story to tell, but now she's in her mid-40s, but she has lived well over half of her life with a pretty moderate to severe brain injury. Like, she's up and around, but her short-term memory is awful, and she has an epileptic condition. Like, I'm like, wow, you can't make this up, how much she deals with. And we all kind of take care of her, and it's very Acadian. Like, no one else can ever take care of her. Because that's the Acadian way.
Your parents involved with this?
Oh, heck yeah. So we really, I'm keeping an eye on them. They're still doing good, and, she's doing okay. But then she also had severe vision loss due to, so I'm like, oh my God, I'm already as part of the same situation. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm kind of in this ring. And then all this stuff happens to my sister, so I'm like, I may as well stay with the blindies, because there's a lot of things.
You can say that because you worked with them.
There's a lot of things that I can learn about, like, neurologically based vision issues that maybe they can help her. And then she used to come out west and visit me, and she could volunteer because she was a client, and she would hang out, and I'd be like, hey, what's up? And she'd come and visit. So I found ways to fold those things, And then, so we did that for years, and then I moved back east, and we're all very happy, and we're all helping each other, and it's great. And I put in 9 years with the Institute for the Blind, and then...
At this point, you're sort of like a therapist in some
more,
ways. Right?
I would say that's where the tub thumping comes in. More like community organizer and educator, and I really think when people come together and learn, it's very empowering, and you can apply that to disabilities too. If people learn together, it's like adult, co-op movements, all that old stuff. It's wonderful.
Sorry, I cut you off where you were saying you'd
and
done
then
this for 9
a few years later, I have a son, a few years later, then I have a son, and he's on the autism spectrum.
How soon did you find out?
He was, I kind of knew.
Okay.
Like by a year and a half, 2.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he was doing some weird stuff. So we were like, oh.
Yeah, weirder than you.
Yeah, like he was happy, but I'm like, oh, wow, there's something going on here.
Right.
And so then I'm like, okay, let's work with the blindies for a while. And then my son's doing okay. I got a real precocious daughter. She's a bit older than him. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm getting my sister involved in the brain injury community because that really fit her effects, right? And she kind of found a home. And then I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And as soon as the kids started going to school, I worked with brain injury in Nova Scotia for like 7 years. And I just left them.
You just left?
I just
You were
left.
executive director.
I
right?
was.
Wow.
It was a bad scene.
I mean, associations of any size are really tough, I'm
well,
sure.
you know what? They needed a bulldog.
Yeah, again,
so I bulldogged it, and then...
Stop offering to be other people's bulldogs,
I was their bulldog. So we took on the government, and we did all this stuff, and got all these programs
funding
going.
for a rehab center in Dartmouth, didn't
Darn
you?
right we did. We got $5 million.
Fucking A, that's awesome.
Yeah. Politicians are great. You got to slowly paint them into a corner.
Paint.
And then show them the way out.
Okay.
They just want solutions.
Yeah, let's stop yelling at them.
It was
and
awesome.
Start painting them.
And I love that. So that's the tub thump thing, right? Like, hey, we can do better than this. This is garbage. Yeah. You can't find any services. A lot of people who are unhoused are affected by brain injury. It's pervasive.
Imagine.
It's everywhere,
Well,
and that was really fun to do that. And then when they needed an administrator, I was like, whoa, baby, time to go. Okay. They started talking about payroll, and I'm like, we have 3 employees. I do it by hand.
Yeah, you're...
And they're like, no.
Do it by hand. Okay.
We need to be a real organization. I'm like, why? Because you have all this money? And they're like, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's fine. And and they're doing great.
But
so
what an incredible,
I left.
You do an amazing
now
job.
I just hang out with my little neuro-diverse
And from what I understand, you now educate at your son's school.
Yeah, we do all kinds of fun stuff.
That's so wicked.
Yeah.
You're constantly educated, no matter what field you're in. Even songwriting, I feel like I've learned a lot from you.
Aw, that's really nice. It's been very fulfilling, and life can be a real jerk bird sometimes.
God, you're sweet to just be like,
right?
Life, you're a jerk bird.
But
some people scream and light
point,
things on fire.
Right? Like, what do you do with the jerk bird?
Yeah.
Like in your life? Well, you put a bow on it, man. What else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Be sad?
No. Wear your best lavender and just be happy.
Just wear a purple dress.
Yeah. Feel good about yourself.
And do some stuff. It is really fun. And most creatives are like that. If you just relax and not worry about stuff too much and follow your signs, like, you'll end up where you're supposed to. Most of the time.
What's something you learned from helping and taking care of other people, or advocating for people who without a voice, that you find on stage and in the music realm is extremely useful?
being dogged about not giving up. Like the idea of giving up or trying.
Yeah.
Like trying as a lifestyle. That's what I learned.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. It's not try it. No.
Yeah.
No. Trying is a lifestyle.
Would you say what's something that you took from parenting that you find extremely useful in the musical realm?
Being able to get in the moment quickly, because your moments are fleeting. So
Nice.
I kind of, like, I don't know, my life is chaos. Like, but it's beautiful chaos,
Yeah.
and, you know, it's just whatever. But being able to, like, shut it off really quick and then be able to enjoy, like, music is where I relax and where I feel and where I process. Like, it's not it's a performance, obviously, that's wonderful. But it does something else for me too. So
when you
being a
begin a
parent
song?
helps you multitask, right? And you're
Yeah.
just like, not doing that now. I'm doing this now. And then you're just,
Separate
in
your
the moment.
brains a bit again.
a little bit.
When you
And-
start the song, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, and also bringing them along the journey has been something I treasure
Bringing
so
your kids
much.
along?
Yeah, and I didn't know that was possible, but I miss doing music so much
Yeah.
that I'm like, hey kids, we're going to Dundee Golf Course in Cape Breton because we get a free room, and guess what? There's a pool.
Yeah, mom's a rock star.
And then, you know, I'm playing for, a bunch of golf dudes.
Yeah.
But we managed to keep a little stick on the ice through all that. And those kids can roll up a chord.
Cool.
Let me tell you. And they
Greatest
know not
rhythms.
to ask
Cool.
to pull over when we're going anywhere. Like, no pit stops, just drive.
Having a merch crew with you, too.
Oh, they're
That's great.
sweet.
Somebody to
But-
sell mugs for you.
And they both are deeply appreciative and into music
Yeah.
in their own ways, and it's made our lives really rich. So that's been a fun thing, like not worrying about convention too much
Yeah.
and hauling them with me whenever I can. That's been really fun.
I want to ask an odd question, because you touched on this earlier, but does legacy mean anything to you? Like what you leave behind? Not just for your kids, but I mean musically and personally. For Leona Burkey, does legacy matter?
I think small L legacy matters.
Nice.
And I try to, that's a big motivation for doing music. It is, like, for recording, for archiving
Yeah.
your journey. Like, that's really, I love that idea.
Because the whole theme of Ground Rush feels very like, and I'll bring it back to Jimmy Rogers, feels very like, get this done before anything else happens or anything changes, or maybe he doesn't make it to that third recording session. But Ground Rush, the skydiving thing, the inertia, the Coriolis effect. Dude, I can't believe you mentioned this
So
stuff in
nerdy.
the song.
I know.
Your
I'm like,
research
yes.
is unbelievable. But there's this theme in it that really felt to me like you're rushing towards the ground, which in some terms
Oh,
is the
hell yeah.
grave.
Yeah, we're all circling the drain.
Like I said, we wouldn't doom and gloom this all night, but here we are. And I'm going to call on you to like wrap it up with a tune. So this is going to be you get to choose how you want to end the night. You can go up or down because we're there. We're talking about the ground rush.
There.
But
Listen to me.
I thought it was beautiful, man.
Ground rush
Really
is good,
cool way to approach that whole issue, because I personally am fascinated by it, by death, and like I'm almost excited for that other side, you know? Not in a weird way, but
Time.
just, yes, time is beautiful.
Is the ultimate bottleneck, though, because as you age, it goes by more rapidly.
Yes.
And that's cruel, because it's not cruel, it's a paradox.
Right.
And the universe is full of them.
I mean, we're centered
But
around a black hole.
We are in it.
Yeah.
But the idea that the more you know, the less time you have.
Because you filled your brain with too much information that you
know?
might not need. You got to clear your cache, dude.
Oh, yeah, you got to clear the cache.
Yeah.
And there's lots of ways
What
to
are
do
you
that.
itching for this for?
I will wrap up with Ground Rush because it's really fun.
Oh.
It's like saying, F you, Father Time. I'm going to have another kick at the can anyway.
Yes.
And a lot of it is a bit cheeky because
Do you need me to hold something?
musicians are compelled to make the music they make. And sometimes you forget that compulsion stands on its own. Like it doesn't matter, you know?
Yes.
And I'm always curious about that. Like even people with really complicated lives find ways to do it. It doesn't even make any sense. Like you lose money most of the time, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Jimmy Rogers, I want you to open up this case slowly.
Oh, wait, you saved your surprise. For
I did. We were going to do it in the middle, and then I
Okay, I'm
forgot.
going to put the microphone down.
So, an Australian friend of mine that I used to play rugby with asked me to hold this old guitar for her dead, estranged dad, who was from the valley. And they all didn't like him very much. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a fake Gretsch sticker on this old guitar. And I'm like, of course her nickname was Ozzy. I was like, Ozzy, I'll keep it for you. If any of your children ever want it, you know it's safe. She's like, yeah, I'm going back to Australia. So this thing was hanging in my kitchen. It's been left on beaches. It's been left in Cape Breton sheds.
Wow.
I even dropped it right on its bum. And I fixed it with PL construction glue.
You did?
And a
Nice.
couple clamps. And it's my bonfire guitar, because
It's
I'm like, it's
amazing.
just a junk guitar from Wilco or something. Then I bring it in to Tom at the Halifax Folklore Center because the bridge is peeling off. And I'm like, Tommy, just find anything that works and stick it on. I said, this is my bonfire guitar. Those are his notes. Then Tom himself calls me. Says, Leona, if you ever leave this guitar on a beach again, I will come for you. And I'm like, geez, Tom, you should simmer down. And he's like, I'm going to take a little longer with this and make sure I set a proper bridge because it's the most interesting guitar that he's seen in years.
No way.
And it's a 1956 Gretsch Jimmy Rogers special.
Are you serious?
Totally serious. They only made them for a couple of years, and that's one of them.
It's got this, like you say, this fake little Gretsch sticker on it, but it's real.
And he
it's
went
got
in
a
there
really
with his
flat top.
dentist mirror guitar thing.
Well, he did a
and
beautiful job.
Checked out all the stuff, and he's like, "No, it's legit.
It's got a nice wide
you should
neck.
hang on to it." Yeah.
Well preserved too, my friend. It's like you can almost kind of see through it. Like I think I could see light through it when I look at the
So
body.
Tiny.
Beautiful.
And the girl, my friend, of course, told me, she's like, I don't know why. My dad carried this thing around with him everywhere. His whole life. We don't know why he loved it so much. Now I know why.
It's so special. It
Yeah.
feels, the neck feels old. It's light. It's like,
The Jimmy Rogers.
wow. That's a Jimmy Rogers special.
Blew my mind.
Congratulations.
You can play it later.
Wow. I can't believe you say that surprise. I've never seen a guitar this valuable and old.
Me neither.
Wow.
And I left it.
Thank
on
you
beaches.
for sharing this.
I left it in a field.
Jimmy would have done the same. He would have hopped a train with it in his hand.
I left it in the field in Maboo. But,
Wow. I'm going to place it on my lap while you play this last song. So you're going to end with Ground Rush, you
Should
said?
we? Let's do it. Let's do it. I made a video with a bunch of good guys, from Cape Breton, and we booted a broken grandfather clock off the Cape and got the perfect slow motion shot of a grandfather clock exploding on the slate. It's true.
You wanted the inertia.
And then a troll got mad at me on the internet. Was like, "You're a polluter." I'm like, bud, you never been to my village on big garbage weekend.
Yeah.
Heavy garbage.
I did someone a favor.
ground rush. It's a long shot. It's not my first or my last one. This song was really fun to write. It's pretty new. Let's do that.
This is off your album Ground Rush.
It is.
Everyone
The
should
title
buy it.
track.
Before you go, while you're strumming this, I'm going to do a little, hey, thank you, Leona, for doing
man,
this.
we talked a lot about a lot of stuff.
I know, we had a lot to
Talked
cover.
fast and loose.
Thank you, audience, for coming out tonight.
you.
How about a hand for Leona Burkey?
Thank you.
Coming up the mountain. You're incredible, pal. Thank you for doing this.
All right, everybody. The heck with Father Time and take your shots. Always. Gotta take them. It's a ground rush. It's a heart crush. I don't jump out of planes much, but I know it's true. You're so high up, got so much time. Yeah, you think you do. Till the moment you don't come crushing in, rushing up at you. Corey Ellis, I forgot to account for the curve. Corey Ellis, oh, you're never too old to learn. I'm stepping out fast on my feet. I got a stage just ahead. Oh, we're catching up with me. May all saints and the angels above steady up my breath inside my lungs. Come, my shaking hands, lay your protection o'er my plan. Corey Ellis, I forgot to account for the curve. Corey Ellis, so you're never too old to learn. Got my calculations, calibrations done. It's a long shot, but not my first or my last one. This old world only spins one way. Oh, and mathematics might just save the day. Corey Ellis, I forgot to account for the curve. Corey Ellis, so you're never too old to learn. It's a ground rush. It's a heart crush. I don't complain much, but I know it's true. Yay! Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Zakary. United North Mountain, United Tapestry. Yeah!
Do you have like a jingle? Like, do, Zach?